Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon and good evening from whichever part you're joining in from. And my name is Abid. I'm the host for today's session. If you are able to hear me, go ahead and give me a hi, hello on the chat window so that we can get to know that you are able to hear us. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your responses, people. Some of the ground rules of the session is like everyone will be on mute to avoid the background noise. So you have any question, you will be utilizing the chat option. Okay, so first thing, let me introduce you to our speaker, Luciana Police. She's one among the people who has more than 10 years of experience in Lean Six Sigma tools. She's the consultant and the founder of Brainstorming Training and Consulting. Quality engineer certified by American Society of Quality. She has participated in an examination and won the Team Excellence Award for it. So she is a speaker, author of American Society of Quality. She has more credits than I can talk about. Without any further ado, let me go ahead and unmute Luciana. Before that, I would like to keep you posted that 45 minutes of the first session or of the session will reserve for Luciana to give her lecture. Last 10 to 15 minutes we will keep it for the question and answer. So if you have any questions, please reserve it for the last section of the session. So without any further ado, I'll go ahead and unmute Luciana. Hey Luciana, thanks for being.
Can you hear me? Hi everyone. Yes, I can hear you.
All right, all yours. I'll go ahead and unmute. We can start it for now.
Hi everyone, this is Luciana Bautista, and I will be your instructor today. I hope you are all listening well. Well, today we will be introducing you to how to apply Lean Six Sigma in a manufacturing setting. Alright, so the session outcomes. Through this session, you will learn how to motivate your team and drive success by using Lean Six Sigma. You will also learn how to increase customer satisfaction, and on top of that, you will learn how to use Six Sigma and Lean to cut costs in companies like Toyota, Coca-Cola, and other companies like yours. I hope you really enjoy this course.
Okay, well, I will start with the course agenda for today. We're going to see the Lean Six Sigma definition. We're going to see the benefits of applying Lean Six Sigma within your organization. We're going to see the toolkit, all the things that we can do directly after these sessions, so that you can go back to your work and start implementing Lean Six Sigma right now. We're going to learn what is the DMAIC methodology, and with real pictures, real examples of companies that are already implementing it. And we're going to check the Six Sigma Lean summary. Okay, so let's just get started with the presentation. So let's review what is the definition for Lean Six Sigma. So in recent years, there were two methods that of improving manufacturing processes have come to the front, that are basically Lean and Six Sigma. They were used to solve two different types of business problems in the past, but today, Lean and Six Sigma are integrated into one methodology and toolset for solving any process problem in any type of organization, from Fortune 500 companies to small private business to non-profit institutions. Believe me that this is something that is real. I've been using it in any kind of company, very small, from just one person to big companies like Coca-Cola. So Six Sigma improves the quality of manufacturing outputs by using statistical tools to minimize the variations. On the other hand, Lean manufacturing is a production process that eliminates waste, thereby increasing the endpoint value for the customers. So both methods have been used successfully by large corporations in the United States, in India, and in Japan, in any part of the world. So the real truth is that at the very beginning, Lean and Six Sigma both started in the manufacturing side. Six Sigma is a philosophy of process management developed by Motorola in the 80s that uses statistical methods to minimize errors. Over the long term, manufacturing processes tend to deviate from the standard, so Six Sigma is helping to reduce that deviation. In the case of the case of lean manufacturing, it began in Japanese manufacturing after World War II crisis. Eiji Toshoda and Taiichi Ono from Toyota, the car manufacturing company, went to visit American plants because they were in crisis. So they organized their learnings in a new system called JIT, or Just in Time, which later was called as TPS, or Toyota Production System. But that system was a bit late behind after, like in the 90s, James Womack, an American guy, wrote a book about this new methodology to be used in any plant across the world, not only manufacturing. And he called it lean manufacturing. Its basic usefulness is in providing the tools to identify and eliminate waste throughout the manufacturing process. So this is how Six Sigma started and lean manufacturing started. So what is Lean Six Sigma together? Together, Lean Six Sigma is a systemic approach to improving the way people do process improvements. There's a methodology that is involved that allows them to systematically enhance your process. Business are really in business for two reasons, right? One is to satisfy the customer, and the other one is to make money. So bear always this in mind. You have a systemic approach to improve processes and to satisfy the customer. Today, what we're going to see is how this systemic approach works. And of course, we're going to see what are the benefits. So let's move to the next slide. One of the benefits is increased employee involvement. Increased employee involvement is one of the big benefits of Lean Six Sigma. Through their participation on process improvement, teams designed to help them improve processes and increase value for their own customers. So people get really, really involved because they actually can see how they can help their company to improve what they are doing, to improve the processes and to improve customer satisfaction. So by involving employees in the implementation of these programs, they gain a greater appreciation for the impact of the work they do on bottom line business results, as well as an appreciation for how the work of other employees and departments also contribute to success. So this is one of the key benefits. The second benefit is that you have reduced cost. One of the primary desired benefits is a reduction in cost associated with improvements to process to require less time, to decrease defects or errors that can result in work. By examining the various steps involved in a process, understanding what customers value, and the taking steps to eliminate unnecessary steps, you can also increase value for the customer, but also you will be reducing all your cost. As you can see, you can save like from 20 to 50% of your cost. That's a great thing. But as I said, you are not only going to involve your employees and reduce costs, but also you will be increasing customer satisfaction. So, Lean Six Sigma methodology involves a strong focus on customer needs and delivering high value to them. So, you will not only focus on the process, but also you will also focus on how the customer is going to receive your product and your service. And of course, ultimately, increased customer satisfaction will lead to repeat business, increased positive word of mouth, and with successful implementation, you will also increase sales and, of course, overall business success. So, what is that customer wants? Customer wants everything, right? We always see if you always see customers within your business, you may be the owner of the business, you may be just one of the employees, but customers want everything. So Lean Six Sigma, in the end, is a systemic process to continually improve what they want, which is quality, cost, and delivery time. Whatever the product or whatever the service, all customers are looking for these three aspects. Faster, that would be a reduced cycle time so that They can get the order much faster. They want it better, with improved performance, of course, better quality. And what's more, they want it cheaper or less. So Lean Six Sigma will help you in all these matters. So let me show you now. This is the DMAIC methodology. This is the famous DMAIC toolkit that is similar to the one used just for Six Sigma. Lean Six Sigma projects comprise aspects of Lean's waste elimination, and the Six Sigma focus on reducing defects based on this DMAIC methodology. The DMAIC toolkit of Lean Six Sigma comprises all the Lean and Six Sigma tools. The acronym DMAIC is the project flow of every Six Sigma effort and represents define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. That will be defining the problem, understanding how to measure the effect of the project so you can see how you are and where you want to be. Third step is analyzing the process through experimentation. Then the fourth one, once you know what is that you want to improve, you just have to go on and improve the process based on the solutions and putting controls at the end in place to maintain the improvement. So where is Lean in this DMAIC process? Lean is basically on the I and C of the DMAIC. It's basically part of the improve and the control, as you will see later on. Moving to the next slide, you will see a chart with the DMAIC tools. This is the table shows some of the Six Sigma tools, of course. It's not imperative to use every tool on every project, but here you can see a wide range of tools that you can use in each of the steps. Again, you can use some of the tools in various of the steps. For example, you can use for example, the brainstorming, which is a very common tool in the measure phase. You can use it in the analyze phase, or you can use it in improving. It's all up to you. The tools are for you to use whenever you want them. You just need to learn which tool is the best for each part of the process that we need to develop. And of course, we have the Lean tools. As you can see on the slide, Lean tools have a lot of five base objectives, which is to seek perfection, allow customers to pull, create flow, identify the value stream and eliminate waste, and finally standardize and visualize customer value. Okay, this is the well-known house of quality of the house of Toyota production system, with the roof of the house is Kaizen, the Japanese word that stands for continuous improvement. So what we're going to see today is where are we going to use all these tools, like the one-piece flow, the TPM, 5S, or the Visual Factory, considering the DMAIC methodology. Well, before we start with the DMAIC methodology, just let me tell you one last thing, which is the training. The training for Lean Six Sigma is provided through the bell-based training system, which is very similar to the judo one. So depending on the amount and complexity of the tools that every employee is trained, personnel are designated as white belts, yellow belts, green belts, black belts, and even master black belts. Again, very similar to judo. Black belts tend to be project leaders, while green belts usually are project team members. So this is the famous DMAIC, and this is all the steps that we're going to see today. Let's get started with it. Define. This is the first step of the DMAIC methodology. So, what are the outputs for the define phase? You have to define the product or the service, you have to identify your customers, you have to define the process, and you have to understand the customer requirements. So this is a phrase that I like very much, which was said by Joseph Duran, one of the main gurus of quality, which says, all improvement takes place project by project and in no other way. So this is the way that Six Sigma and Lean start getting together, having a project. So the first thing that you have to do to start using the DMAIC methodology is having a project to work on. You have to look at your processes and see what's going wrong, where are customers complaining, or where are your employees complaining that they have to work too hard or they have to work too fast and it's not okay for them. So when you have some kind of issues or where you're having a lot of cost that you would like to reduce, well, there you may have a project. So once you have defined your project, the next step that I would recommend to do is to use a sidebug diagram. The sidebug diagram is useful to see the big picture and define where it ends a process and where it starts. So now we are getting closer to what a manufacturing company is, right? So let's see what is the process of a bottling company, for example. The sidebug stands for suppliers, input, process, output, and customers. So the first thing that you need to do with your process is to understand it. How you understand it? The first thing is to define which are your suppliers. You need to see that every task that you do has something that starts before and something that starts after you finish your process. So the best thing that each of your employees need to know is how their processes are connected to other tasks of the other people in the company. So we have our process for bottling, and the process for bottling has suppliers. It may be a bottling company, or it may be employees. The supplier and employees provide inputs. Those inputs are bottles, juice, receipts that will enable me to bottle the juice in the bottle. Then, once I finish the process for bottling, I have the output, which is the juice bottle, and the customer, which is the distributor, which is going to distribute my juice, or the employees that may drink it. So, what about the process itself for bottling? Well, you just have to write all the tasks that are related to your process. In my case, would be first clean the bottles that have been received from the supplier, pour hot juice into the bottles, close the bottles, invert them so that the juice gets to all the part of the bottle. Then you have to cool it down. Then you have to label it, and then you pack it. Once you finish all the steps, you are ready to have the juice bottle and distribute it. Okay, so this is the first step so that you know exactly where to start. Now that you know what comes after and what comes before your process, you have to go a bit deeper, which is going to doing a flowchart. The flowchart is a pictorial representation of the sequence of steps in a process. It's very similar to what we have already done, but it's more detailed. So in this kind of process flowchart, I have included also not only the steps, but also the responsibles for each of them, which is operations, purchases, and reception in this case. So the flowchart, the basic usefulness of the flowchart is that you develop a common understanding of a process. What, who, when, where, and how. This way you also identify improvement opportunities. So this way you can see if there are problem areas or inefficiencies, or if you have redundancy, if you have recycling, if there are gaps between the as-is and the ideal. So flowcharts are very useful for you to see what's going on in your process, and it also will help you to standardize how work is done. Flowchart is also very useful to train your employees also to document the process. So this is one of the very, very first tools that you need to use as a green belt or black belt. So now that you have defined your process and you have defined what is that you are going to have as an output of your process, you have to measure how it works. That's the second step of the DMAIC, which is the measure phase. The measure phase allows you to understand the before present condition of the process before you attempt to identify improvements. Because the measure phase is based upon valid data, it eliminates guesswork about how well your process is working. Because sometimes you say, yeah, my process is working well, but can you actually say that it's working well? Do you know what is the profitability of the business? Do you know the cost that you're having? Do you know the cycle time? Well, if you don't know that, you are not sure if your process is actually going well. Or maybe it's going quite well, but it could go better. So, first that you need to do is try to define which is the process output measures that you want to have. What is that you want to measure? You have to have a performance measurement, and you have to identify the gaps with the ideal process measurement. This is another very nice phrase that I like to use, that is, if you don't measure work processes, well, you can't possibly manage them. And that was said by Bill Hewlett, and this is very right. As I said before, if you cannot measure what you're doing, it's very, very difficult that you can manage it, because the only way to show your employees that something is going wrong, that people is complaining, that the manufacturing process is very slow, or is very cost effective, or is not cost effective, then if you cannot tell them the truth, you cannot tell them numbers, well, you cannot actually make them change anything about it. So the first thing is that you have your process flowchart and start measuring how it's working. So one of the measurement tools that I can use is to actually go and count or measure what you're doing. So you have your process flowchart, and then you first need to request materials. So you have to request a quote to suppliers. So measure how much time you spend requesting quotes to your suppliers. So let's say you spend an hour. Okay. But then the next step is selecting the supplier. How much time do you spend until you actually select the supplier? Sometimes it takes, like, for example, 3 days or a week or 2 weeks. So this is a very important phase of your DMAIC methodology. You actually need to know all the time that you're spending, not only by doing something, but also all the time that you're spending doing nothing, like waiting for someone to select suppliers, waiting from the supplier to get you the supplies, waiting for getting the stock actually on the manufacturing plant. So first, measure everything you can about your process. Once you have measured how your process is going, then you can analyze or move to the next step, where you can see why you're not getting the results you want. Why is it that I'm getting my supplies for bottling my juice in 2 weeks if I want in 2 days? Well, that's what we have to analyze. We basically, in the analyze phase, what we're going to do is understand why we're going to have these gaps. So the first tool that we can use to analyze is the brainstorming, the one that I mentioned before, which is a technique for generating a high volume of ideas on any topic. So you can use this to stimulate creativity within your team, to encourage any participant to build on another's ideas. You get all the team members involved, because the brainstorming session, basically what you do is have a facilitator asking for team members to look for new ideas. You just have to show your problem on a chart, on a screen, and then team members need to tell what what they think it's the problem about them. Okay. Brainstorming is a very important tool and it's very simple, but it can be used together with other tools like the fishbone diagram, which is the next tool. The fishbone diagram is a brainstorming tool designed to identify possible causes of a problem. It's also known as a cause and effect diagram or an Ishikawa diagram. So what you can do is just, as you can see on the slide, just show on the screen what is the problem and start looking for the different causes, the different root causes. Okay. So what we do on the fishbone diagram, you can just set like spines or categories that are commonly used, or you can use your own. The ones that are commonly used are what is called the 6 M's, which is machinery, methods, material, people, environment, and measurement. So as you can see on the next slide, this is a nice example of how you can use the fishbone diagram to analyze the causes of your problems. For example, in this case, we have long buying time. So why you may be having a long buying time? Because of your methods. If you go to the methods, it's fine. Because retrieving from first floor takes longer. Another option, substitution takes long. Let's say this is a clinic that you are looking for buying things. Doctor is too busy to pick up the phone. Okay, let's go to the person. It's fine. Maybe people is busy retrieving because it's not immediately available for counseling. Maybe people is young and inexperienced. So this is some parts that may be affecting what is going on in your process. So what's good about the fishbone diagram is that you'll see in just one slide a lot of root causes. You just have to keep asking why, which is another tool, the 5 whys. Keep asking why something is going wrong. So why is that we have the problems with the methods? Again, why? Because retrieving from the first floor takes longer. Why retrieving from first floor takes longer? Then you keep answering why until you get to the 5, and then you are going to get the right answer. What you're going to get with this is a lot of, as I said before, a lot of root causes that you have to analyze. Then with your experienced team, which will be people from different sectors in the company, from different areas, even you can include suppliers or customers, they all can vote and see which is the real root cause for the problem. Another tool that you can use to analyze well the information that you have is the Pareto Chart. The Pareto Chart is very well used if you have real data, for example, waiting time, or if you have information about how much cost you're having. Well, the Pareto Chart is a form of bar chart that helps to identify problems by displaying them in a descending order of frequency or size. So, the Pareto principle is founded on the observation that in many instances, just a large percentage of problems are caused by only a small percentage of the total contributing factors. So that is, here, you will have like 6 or 7 categories of problems. But if you just focus on the first one, which is going to have the 80% of the problems, you will only be solving one of the causes. Okay, so just you solve one of the causes and you will be resolving 80% of the problems. The principle was established by Wilfredo Pareto in the 19th, and he really studied that this was the 80-20 rule, and it's applied to any kind of industry. You just have to check your data and see where you get the 80% of your problems. So now you have built your fishbone diagram, you have a lot of causes, then you have analyzed your causes, and you have get data, then you got your Pareto chart to try to prioritize which are the causes that you got. And then you get that one of the causes is the most important about it. So how you solve it? You need to work on the improve phase. On the improve phase, you will innovate, look for solutions, and test them. Test them in just a pilot area. That's the most recommendable way of doing it. And if in that pilot area it works, then you can implement the solution across the company. So here in the improve phase, as I said before, is where we're going to start using the very lean tools. So these lean tools are going to help you basically to reduce the aid waste that every company can have. The aid waste are non-value-added activities, which is any effort that doesn't create value for the product or the customer needs, that needs to be eliminated or reduced. Those 8 ways that you have the acronym for downtime are defects, overproduction, waiting, non-value-added processing, transportation, inventory, motion waste, and employees' unutilized skills. So lean tools will help you eliminating all these 8 waste. And the first one that I always recommend to start with when you want to implement the DMAIC methodology within the plant is the 5S, which is to organize the workplace using the 5S. The 5S is a Japanese methodology that has 5 steps that will help you organize where you work in a way that it's easier to see the defects and it's easy to work. It's easy also to visualize what's going well, what's going wrong, and it's easy for anyone to see it, not only for experienced people, but also for operators or new employees, and also for customers. So, what is 5S about? The first step of 5S is to sort. It's to separate needed tools, materials, and instructions from those that are not needed. You have to remove everything that is not needed from the work area. So once you have split what you need from what you don't need, you need to store well what you actually need. You have to sort and organize all tools, equipment, files, data, materials, and resources for quick, easy location and use. You have to label all the locations on the tools and the equipment so that everyone can see it, can find it in less than 30 seconds. Yes, it's less than 30 seconds. If you are spending more than that to find any tool, then you're having a problem, and then you may be looking forward to implement 5S. So once you have stored all your precious material, your whatever it is, products, finished products, equipment, or any kind of material, then you need to set a new level of cleanliness in the shine step. You have to clean and remove all trash, grease, and dirt. What happens mostly in a manufacturing environment is that grease and dirt are a way of hiding defects. So as soon as possible that you can remove any grease, any dirt, any trash, then you will be able to see much better what's going wrong, what's going well. So if there's a machine that is not working, probably if it's clean, you will see exactly when you are getting a flow of water that shouldn't be there, or a flow of oil or grease that shouldn't be there. On top of that, cleanliness provides a safe work area and makes potential problems visible. So you will be able not only to see equipment links, as I said before, but also loose parts, missing rods, loose paperwork, materials, whatever. The first step for the 5S is to standardize, which we're going to see later on as well in the DMAIC, in the C control phase, okay? But it will also have it included in the 5S. So standardize would be to systematically do the 1, second and third step of 5S. So you have to establish schedules for cleaning, you have to define the standards for each of the processes, and the five step is to sustain it. The only way that Lean Six Sigma can work if you sustain it. You have to make Lean Six Sigma the same way as 5S as part of your culture. You have to build an organizational commitment so that this tool is sustained through time. Let me tell you one more thing. Toyota and Honda are very great fans of 5S. Toyota and Honda will tell you that 25 to 30% of quality defects are directly related to order and cleanliness in the workplace. So that's really true. And what's more, this is also 5S is a great contributor to employee satisfaction at workplace because they feel more comfortable when they're working. So moving to the next tool. As you can see, this is some pictures of 5S where you can see some tools very well organized. You have these are all pictures of real examples of factories where employees have been working on 5S, trying to organize the parts, the materials for the work, their tools. So this helps them much better to improve the processes they do, improve how they work. They are much faster and they just know when they need something. The next picture will also show you how you can not only have signs on the tools, but also you can have signs on the floor just showing where you should include any kind of material so that you don't get them lost. This is another good example where you can have places to put all the materials that you need, but as much as possible that you can see them, that's much better. You may use labels, but you also can use transparent parts, like drawers, transparent drawers, so that you can see everything that is inside, and you can figure out easily where you have to change it or where you have to buy more stuff. This is related to another tool that is very well used in Lean Six Sigma, which is the Visual Factory. Okay, this is the same picture for the drawer that we just saw. Remember this one? Okay. Let me go back. Do you remember this one? Okay. This one, on the door, you will see a sign which is red or green showing where you need to change either the tools or you need more material. So Visual Factory is a big part of Lean Six Sigma. You need visual signs to help you have real-time dashboards, real-time things that will tell you what to do and when to do it. And this helps a lot team leaders on the factory floor. You can see that Toyota is much more effective than General Motors in the sense that team leaders are 90% of the time on the factory floor because they have all the information they need right there. They don't have it on the computer. They just have it on the floor. And that's a very good thing about Visual Factory. Here you have another example. This is a box that is used to have glue for a factory, and the same employees just cut the box so that they can see inside how much glue they have, and it's easier for them to identify when they need to buy more. Another good tool for Lean Six Sigma to reduce waste is Pokayoke, which is mistake-proofing devices, which is the practice of striving for zero defects to prevent errors. It applies to any process where repetitive steps occur which could be skipped, performed out of order, or not conducted correctly. Mistake proofing ensures that tasks can only be done the right way. You can use lights, you can use signs, whatever you need so that you can show right away what's going right and what's going wrong. I also use very much the example of the Excel. When you are writing something that is not correct, when you are supposed to write a date and you're writing letters, then you will receive a message on the Excel file, the same in any ERP systems like SAP. You get a message showing, hey, this is not what you should be doing. So before you continue working on that, you already see what's going wrong. Another tool that is very much used is SMED, which stands for Single Minute Exchange of Dies. And it refers to the time it should take to set up a machine to produce a part. It's very, very common. As you can see, there are some examples of companies that need to do fast changeovers. Well, SMED is a very good tool to reduce the time of the changeovers. In automatic plants, there are numerous instances where it would take like 3 or 4 hours to do a setup. So with the use of these lean techniques, the setup time would be reduced to minutes. For example, the other day I went to Toyota plant, and really you were having like a new car every 110 seconds. Right? And it was any kind of car with any color. It wasn't like 10 black cars. No, it was a red car. 110 minutes later, you would have a black car. 110 minutes later, you would have like a van. No, it was wonderful. So that is basically one of the things that are great about SMED. Another tool is the total preventive maintenance, which is to try the operators to contribute to keeping the equipment in good condition. And that's another great tool that you can use for Lean and Six Sigma. So how much time do you lose when you need to repair a machine? Well, you can create flow if you just spend 1 or 7 minutes, every day before using it, and 2 minutes to clean it after. But you will never have the machine going down. Instead of just spending 3 hours every 2 weeks, just spend 5 minutes every day, and it will work much better, and you will know how it works. If your operators know how the machines work, they will be much better prepared to fix it faster and to make it work much better. Another tool is the Kanban. Kanban is a great tool, which is also very visual, and it's like a scheduling system, but it's rather a production control system, and it's not automated. It's a very, very simple tool. It's just cards, post-it notes, bin, pallets, whatever you need to visualize how things are labeled. You can use like these cards that I'm showing on the slide. You can use post-its to show how things are working. On the next slide, we're going to see that there are palettes that you can have in different colors, like in green, if something is already processed and ready to pack, or you can use red if something needs to be fixed or something needs to be arranged. Well, you can use, as I said, you can use cards telling you how much materials you need for any product. You can have cards to tell you if the product is approved. Well, there are you need a lot of imagination to be able to use well these Kanban cards, and you can use it in any process. It's very much like the waiter when they get your order at the restaurant. Well, that would be like a Kanban card if you got it to the chef on the kitchen. So all these tools were part of the improve phase. So now you have defined your process, you have measured how it should work, you have analyzed why it's not working that well, then you have improved it, and now it's time for control. You need to monitor what you have been working on to make sure it is sustained through time. So one of the tools that we use a lot for controlling is the control chart, which is an advanced form of Gantt chart which displays how stable is the process and what types of variation it is subject to. As you can see, this is a nice, well, it's not that nice, it's not very clean, right? But it's a very good place where you can get all the information you need on the line. Instead of just going to the computer, you just go to the plant, to the floor, and see what are the metrics for production, for cost, for quality, security, for HR. You can put whatever you need as long as you can measure it. And what I recommend is that the measures are done directly by the operator, that each of the employees can draw in a very simple graph how they're doing and which are the objectives, so that you can see if we are working well or not. In this case, for example, you have an objective of 1.3 in the when you are you are using paper and you want to have it only to 1.3%. But in this case, they are having very, very bad numbers, as you can see, because they are on top of the objective. Okay? But this is something good because the operator exactly will know what is going wrong and which day it went wrong, and maybe they can figure out if there's something to correct on that particular day. So, as I said, control is part of monitoring and controlling, but you also need to try to have procedures. You need to standardize what you have been doing. The same thing that I mentioned with 5S, that the fourth step of 5S was standardizing. When you have your DMAIC methodology, in the control part, you also need to make sure it's sustained through time. And the only way to sustain a change through time is using standard operating procedures. That will be manuals, or that will be things that are standardized, ways of cleaning, ways of preparing a package, ways of solving a problem, ways of cleaning a certain tool or a certain machine, or ways to do a fast changeover. Well, you need to write it down. So in the case that you define with Lean or with SMED, you define a way to do your changeovers faster, then you need to write them down so that it helps everyone to find the best way to perform each operation. Okay, what happens is that if you have a small company, well, maybe there's just one person doing one of the activities, right? Maybe you have a restaurant and you have someone that is cooking, or you have a plant where you are having, as I said before, the example of the bottling company. Well, you need to find the best way to bottle every juice. So all must understand the notion that variation is equal to defects. So if you have reduced variation, you will reduce the defect levels. And the only way to reduce variation is to have standard work. That is, everyone doing things the same way, and the same way that is the best way. The best way that is discovered. Of course, you know, everything what has to do with quality management, it also has to do with continuous improvement. So you need to focus on improving whatever you do, continue improving it every time. So maybe you once find the best way to perform one operation, but maybe the next day one of the new employees realizes that there is a better way. Well, then you need to update your process and show them and communicate them so everyone else knows exactly what is the best way. So what is good about it is that work is to be performed according to the standard, but this rule applies to everyone, to early workers, to supervisors, to managers, to technicals, whoever. So everyone needs to have a standard for what they're doing every day. Okay? So this is the end. Let's do just a summary of the Lean Six Sigma training that we have had today. First, you need to define the value in terms of your customers. Then you need to measure the desired value versus the real value. The third step, you need to analyze processes to look for causes. The fourth step, you need to improve by reducing waste. And the last step would be to control and seek for perfection. That would be continue improving every time, but always look for controlling and monitoring what you have already improved. And this is like a cycle. You will never finish. Once you finish controlling, then you have to define new values or new projects to work on. So this is it on my end. I just would like to thank you very much for listening to the session. I would like to thank you very much and ask you if you have any questions. Please feel free to write your questions on the questions part of your dashboard. Please feel free. We will have like 5 to 10 minutes of questions.
Thank you so much, Luciana, for that. And let me go from the top. The first question, and us coming in from email, if there is a problem not identified, and how to identify that. If there is any problem which has not been identified, and in case if there is a possibility to identify it, how to do that?
So the question, let me repeat, what do you do if you cannot find the problem?
So basically the question reiterates that if there is any problem which is not being identified, and how to identify the problem. So maybe he is referring to the recurring problem, but wherein a root cause has not been performed, but needs, if there is any certain tip or which can help them to identify the problem.
Right. Well, the first thing that I would recommend to do is just check on what is the customer experience, just check if your customers are having any issues, and then start asking questions. So if let's say your customers are receiving your product late, okay, so you're having a lot of questions about why you're not getting the product on time. So just try to write all the customers that had a claim on that, write them down, and start asking why it's happening. Then in order to do that, first you get information for your customers, and then you have a brainstorming session with your team, and then start checking what could be the reasons for that happening. Maybe that way they can realize there's a problem with the materials. Maybe they can find out there's a problem with the communication with the customer. Maybe there's a problem with the communication with the supplier. Okay. Once you start getting to know more about the problem, you will be able to get a project on what is that you have to focus on. If there's a problem with the supplier, maybe then you can start a project on how improving the time you get material from the supplier so that you can get your product faster and get it faster to your customer. I hope that is answering the question.
Well, great, thanks. And when we are talking about the customer, this is one of the questions from Juan. So can you just talk about the internal customers, for example, financial department or logistics?
Great. Well, that's a great question about the having an internal and external customer, because that's totally true. Lean Six Sigma focuses on both customers. Both external customer would be who actually buys the product and uses it, or it can be the internal customer, which could be accountants, could be logistics, as you said. It could be any other kind of part in your process. That's why I suggested at the very beginning that you need to do the cycle diagram. The cycle diagram will help you identify which are the customers of your process. It would be an internal customer, maybe once you finish your task, maybe you finish producing your product, then you need to send it to someone in accounting, or maybe you need to prepare a report for them to tell them how was the rate, for example, or which were the cost of your product. Well, you need to know exactly what is that your customer wants. They want, as I said before, you want the documentation faster. They want another kind of documentation. Maybe they need it through an email. Maybe they need them through a voicemail. Maybe they need them through WhatsApp. You can use any tool to get communicated with them, but you need to ask them first what is that they want.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for that. And can you comment on which tool works better on a transactional process versus the factory floor processes?
Well, the tool, you don't have a better tool. It depends on what you need to fix. So first, what I would recommend is to check the graphs for the Lean tools and for the Six Sigma tools, where you can see in which stage you are and what is the best tool for each of the stages. So it depends. Basically, you need to check if you are trying to look for improving something, or you're trying to look for more information. You're in the measure phase and you need to look for data, or maybe you need to control your process much better. You need to check which is the best tool for the stage that you are. Maybe you can send an email to me with the example, and I can help you much better on that. So I can give you the better tool, the right tool for that situation.
Got that. Thank you. And one of the interesting questions coming from Stephen is, how could we apply Lean Six Sigma in service production?
Well, really, it's a great question. As I said, Lean Six Sigma can be used in any kind of industry, not only in manufacturing, but also in services. For example, I'm using 5S very much in stores. Sometimes stores have a lot of products that cannot be sold because they are broken, or they are out of fashion, or maybe they are full of dust. They are not clean. And 5S is a great tool to help you ensure that the place where you have all the products that you need to sell are clean, are in good condition, and then of course you can find it faster, because once you have a customer that is looking for something that they need to buy, they don't want to wait like 30 minutes so that you can find them. So 5S is a great tool, but of course it's not the only one. For example, you can use the SciPoc for getting the service process. As I was saying, for example, if you are going to a restaurant, that is a service process mixed with a manufacturing one, right? But the waiter getting your order is like a service process, and you can draw the SciPoc the same way. For example, the supplier is the person that gets the food, and the input is the food. The process is how preparing the order with the food for the customer. Then the output would be the table served, and the customer would be you. So you can use any of these tools in any kind of environment.
All right, great, thank you. And the next question is, how Lean Six Sigma can be applied in non-manufacturing company? what's your thoughts on non-manufacturing company or about Lean Six Sigma implementation?
Well, yes, it's very similar to the previous question. Yes, I'm really using Lean Six Sigma in other non-manufacturing environments. To tell you the truth, I'm implementing Lean Six Sigma in Coca-Cola, and I'm implementing it in every part of it. I'm implementing it in the bottling part. I'm implementing it in the quality lab, also in the administrative sectors for accountants, in the kitchen, on the security part. When you get into the plant, you need to get, all the security done. The place where the employees have lunch. So Lean Six Sigma can be used anywhere. Just have to try to find the best tools that you can use for each of the steps. As I said, 5S is one of the first ones that you can use in any of them, but then you can use the sidebook, you can use control charts to analyze how your people is doing. It can be, for example, in accounting, you can use the control charts to see how many mistakes you're making. You can see how many late entries you're having. I used it, Lean Six Sigma also very much at ExxonMobil. That's a very well-known multinational company for oil industry, and I was using it in the accounting side. Purchases, sales. Everyone was using Six Sigma to improve their processes as well. Because if accounting wouldn't have the right documentation on time, maybe the manufacturing part wouldn't have the supplies on time. So everything here should be connected.
Okay, great. Thank you, Luciana. And one more last question, and that's coming on the exam. How long does it take to get certified on Lean Six Sigma? And the participant also questioned how difficult is to get certified. So with this answer, we'll wrap up the session. And also, I do apologize, participants, we will not be able to answer all the questions. However, I will be sending out the details of this session. Like someone questioned on recordings, we will be sharing the recordings. You can revert to my email on your questions. I'll get it answered by Luciana on the same. So the final question for you will be on exam. How long does it take to get certified on Lean Six Sigma, and how difficult it is?
Well, actually, there is no just one question or one answer. Sorry for that question. The answer is that it depends on you. Lean Six Sigma has a lot of tools, and then what I would recommend is to start with a certification for Green Belt, so that you get to know the main tools. How much it will take? Well, it depends on the kind of course you have. For example, you have the Simplilearn course, where you can take it on your own pace. So you can take as much as you need to do it. It's all up to how fast you get to know the tools, and what I would recommend is to practice it, because it's not just important to get the certification, but also to be able to apply it faster and in a good fashion. So it's not difficult. It's really easy, as I said in the whole session. The tools are not difficult to use. The tools are simple. The tools are very good for any kind of employees. It's not only for management, but it's also for operators or for clerical people or for administrative or whoever. So I would really recommend that you start working on that. You can start slow. Just take your take your time to do it. That is not difficult. You will see that once you start learning about it, you will love it, and you will want to learn much more, so that you can get to the master black belt. So I wish you a lot of success on that.
Thanks for that, Luciana. And as I stated, everyone, the recording of this session will be shared. However, the presentation, I'm afraid we will not be able to share the PDF files, as this is developed for the training purpose only. However, I will share the recording links for each one of you. And once again, let's thank Luciana on her expertise in considering the schedule and respecting the time and the value of it. Will conclude by now, and I will be sharing the recordings tomorrow to each and every one of you. You have any question, do not hesitate to bring the question to me. I will forward it to Luciana and get it answered, or else I will create a link on our community. You can post your queries there, wherein Luciana will be able to answer that questions as well. So I I I thoroughly enjoyed the session, Luciana. Thank you once again for your expertise and your knowledge on Green Lean Six Sigma. And with this, we will go ahead and close the session, and the recordings will be sent tomorrow. Thank you once again, everyone joining the session, and have a good day. Take care. Bye.